resource conservation projects, benefits and costs tend to occur at different times. Now, of course, there are various types of resource conservation projects, but to illustrate this point, we're going to look at the example of planting a belt of trees for various types of conservation benefits on the farm, as you can see from the table, but also involving various types of costs. So starting with the benefits. Benefits obviously vary over time because initially when the trees are planted, they're very small, they provide little benefit. They're too small to reduce erosion, they're too small to lower water tables for salinity prevention, they're too small to provide shelter for livestock. So there's not a lot of benefit there, but as they grow, each of those benefits potentially grows, and so we reach a higher and higher level of benefits as over time. And eventually, at some point, depending on the nature of the project, if it's a commercial tree, you may harvest that at the end of the project and sell the products and generate an additional benefit at the end of the project. So this diagram illustrates that. Initially, the blue bars represent the level of benefit being generated, and there are blue bars for 20 years of the project. Initially, the benefits are zero. They grow slowly over time, tend to level off at a moderate level, and then at the end there's a spike where, in this case, the trees are harvested and the products are sold. Now, each product will have a different characteristic pattern of benefits over time, but the general point we're trying to make here is that the benefits tend to be, in resource conservation projects, the benefits tend to be larger towards later in the project rather than early. Okay, let's look at costs now, and costs also tend to vary over time. In particular, most projects involve a significant upfront cost. So with our tree belt example, farmers are needing to purchase the inputs to establish the planting of trees. They're needing to put the time into doing that. So there's quite large costs at the beginning of the project. But then there may also be smaller costs later on as well. Some projects require ongoing maintenance. So for example, if we're planning to sell the trees later on, we may need to invest in pruning to keep the trees in good shape and to maximise the sale price of the wood that occurs later on. And so that would occur every few years through the life of the project. And then again, if they're commercial trees, there may be costs involved in harvesting them at the end of the period. So let's look at the graph. We've got a big cost at the beginning, smaller costs every so often for maintaining the project, and then a moderate cost at the end, in this case due to harvesting the wood, but it may also be in other types of projects, disestablishing a project, for example, dismantling it. If we put the costs and the benefits together, it really highlights that the costs tend to be bigger at the beginning and the benefits bigger at the end, and showing the difference, a graph with the difference between the benefits and the costs, it really makes that point very strongly. There's a large negative profit or negative net benefit at the beginning of the project, and then smaller benefits at the beginning growing to larger benefits towards the end. Some of these benefits have been reduced because the costs in those years have been deducted, and so you can see the benefits are a little bit up and down over time, and the large benefit at the end has been reduced somewhat because we've subtracted off the costs of the harvesting process. But in general, this really highlights the point we're making, that costs are larger at the beginning, benefits are larger towards the end, and this is something we're going to need to deal with in calculating the economics of these projects. And we're going to need to do more than just add up the benefits and add up the costs. We're going to need to allow for these timing differences. So in summary, the costs and benefits of a resource conservation project tend to vary over time. In particular, costs tend to be high early on and the net benefit is negative. Benefits tend to be higher later on and the net benefit may become positive if the benefits are large enough. And this is a very typical pattern for resource conservation projects of various types when they occur on farms.